Welcome to the Leadership in Law podcast with host Marilyn Jenkins. Cut through the noise, get actionable insights and inspiring stories delivered straight to your ears. Your ultimate podcast for navigating the ever-changing world of law firm ownership. In each episode, we dive deep into the critical topics that matter most to you, from unlocking explosive growth to building a thriving team. We connect you with successful firm leaders and industry experts who share their proven strategies and hard-won wisdom. So, whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting your journey as a law firm owner, the Leadership in Law podcast is here to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to build a successful and fulfilling legal practice.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Leadership in Law podcast. I'm your host, Marilyn Jenkins. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Lyn Askin, to the show today. Lyn has been an entrepreneur his whole life, from a paper route to over 25 years of owning and operating a digital marketing agency. But despite his success, he faced the common problems: a lack of clear vision, lackluster team commitment, and poor discipline and accountability. In 2020, he got a huge wake-up call. He suffered a bilateral pulmonary embolism, and as he laid in the ICU fighting for his life, his thoughts were consumed with the turmoil left for his wife and his son. His wife would have to go to the office, fire the employees, lose all their clients, and if he would have died that day, his business would have died as well. Thank God he survived, but he knew things needed to change. He had to build something that ran without him. Implementing EOS was a remarkable transformation. They 3x the revenue, 7x profits, and grew from 10 to 27 employees. He was able to take a step back from daily operations, leading to a successful company acquisition, leaving a legacy for his family. The transformation was life-changing, inspiring him to help others with EOS. I am so excited to have you here, Lyn. Welcome.
Ellen, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to connect with you too.
Absolutely. That's an incredible story. And I know a little bit about EOS, and I know that it's an important thing as you grow. So I'm going to just open the floor and have you explain to us what the EOS is and why we should be using it.
Sure. So EOS is a business framework. You know, a lot of us, we start our businesses and we have these visions of what our business is going to be like. You know, we're going to have all this time. We're going to have extra money. We're not going to work on the weekends. We're going to have this freedom. And the truth is, for most of us, it's not like that at all. And so, you know, I guess I like to say that you can run your business on guesswork, hard work, or a framework. And so EOS is
like that
framework that helps you, that helps guide you in your business. And it's really, it's based on the concept of us being entrepreneurs. We're kind of used to dealing with, and I think we're all kind of dealing with about 136 issues simultaneously. You know, we're just bombarded with a million things. But in EOS, we've decided that if, you know, those things are really just symptoms of a real root cause. And if we can strengthen just 6 key components of your business, you can have a better business, have a better life. Those 136 simultaneous issues just sort of fall into place. And so, you know, I hope they give that. I mean, I know that doesn't give a huge explanation of EOS. It's a big system. It's simple.
Yeah, but 6 is easier to think about than 136.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Sure. Yeah. So in EOS, we figure there are 6 key components of your business. Of course, there's your vision component. This is about getting you and your leadership team 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you're going to get there. We have your people component. This is pretty simple. You're not going to execute on a great vision without great people.
Right.
And then, of course, we have your data component, which is about running your business on real facts and figures and numbers and not emotions and subjective sort of decision making that we often do in our entrepreneurial businesses. And then, of course, we have the issues component, which is, you know, when your vision component strong and your people component strong, your data component strong, your business becomes more transparent, and those issues and challenges and obstacles and things like that just start to become a lot more obvious. And so the issues component teaches you how to deal with those issues, solve them at the root, and make them go away forever so you can move on to the next set of better issues.
Okay.
Of course, we have the process component, which is really systemizing your business and realizing that we just have this handful of core processes. And to the extent that we can get Anybody who touches one of those processes to do it the right way and the best way every time, that's what we want. And then, of course, we've got to get those processes all documented and get them followed by all. And that brings us down to the traction component. Traction component kind of sits at the bottom of our model. And it's no coincidence, because you've got to bring your vision down to the ground and execute on it with discipline and accountability. And so we help you do that in traction. We like to say that if vision without traction is hallucination. So,
okay. Now, I know that when it comes to people, I know that one of the key components is the right butts in the right seats. And do you use like assessments to determine if someone is in the right seat and what should happen in that position?
Sure. So in EOS, we say right people, right seats. And right people are people who live your core values. These are people who exhibit your core values. They live them, they breathe them. They just exemplify the kind of people that you want around you. People on your team love them and all of those good things. Right seats are people who are good at their jobs. These are people with God-given skills and talent and ability and can execute on their position. And so we've got to marry those two things. We got to have the right people in the right seats. And yes, we do have tools to measure that. We use something called a people analyzer to determine if somebody, consistently exhibiting your core values. And then, of course, we ask ourselves, do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have capacity to do the job? And so we have a handful of tools that help you really understand and put the right people in the right seats. One of those is the accountability chart.
Okay. All right. Excellent. And yeah, because I find that was something I struggled with last year, is having the right people on the team. And it came down to, like you were saying, having the values and after removing especially one specific person, everything turned around on the team. It was, you don't realize it until you finally realize it, and you're like, wow, it's a big change, and it made a massive difference in productivity with everybody. So
it's kind of wild when you you struggle, because we don't want to fire people. I mean, we want to hope for the best. But sometimes it's funny when you make that change, the rest of your team comes to you and goes, gosh, what took you so long?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
man,
exactly.
They could all see it, and we struggle to see it. So
yeah, true. I mean, the team meetings just completely changed. It was great. So thinking about, okay, what you're saying, what would be at what size should a business start looking at EOS when we're thinking about our org chart? When would be best to start implementing?
Well, the concept of EOS and what we're really trying to do in EOS is we're trying to build a great leadership team. If you were to kind of map out all of the different things that you do as a business owner, you probably find yourself in a bunch of different spots. And so one of the very first exercises we do in EOS is we sit down with you and your leadership team, that small handful of people, that 3 to 7 people that you think might help you carry the company along. If you can get to that, if you have maybe 3 or so people or greater on your team that you feel like you can turn into leaders, or we can help you do that. And then you can start with EOS. And it's really about kind of mapping out with the accountability chart what your company needs to look like. And I don't mean what it looks like today. I mean, what does the company need to look like 6 to 12 months from now? And so we map out your major functions. Every business has got a sales function where you guys go out and you sell to the market. You got marketing. Obviously, you got to attract those buyers. You've got a department for operations, for how you deliver your product and service. And then, of course, you got finance or admin. You got to go out and collect the money. So you got to sell, advertise stuff. You got to sell stuff. You got to deliver the stuff, and then you got to collect the money. And so what we're trying to build is an accountability chart where we have somebody in each of those seats. We're really focusing on growing that part of your business, because if your business is, strong in sales, but weak in operations and strong in finance, well, guess what happens? You sell a lot, but you lose a lot of clients.
Right.
If you're strong in sales, you're strong in operations, and you're weak in finance, well, you might be selling a couple $1 million, but having $2 million go out the back door. But if you're weak in sales and you're strong in operations, you're strong in finance, well, then you just got a bunch of people sitting around because nobody's out there selling. You had no work to do. And so realizing that all of your major functions have to be strong, we realize we got to try and put somebody in each of those seats to sort of take extreme ownership of that and drive that portion of your business forward.
Do you ever feel like the end of the year is racing towards you and you're not quite where you want to be revenue-wise? With only a few months left, the pressure to make significant strides can be overwhelming. I get it. Balancing growth, managing a team, and chasing those big goals can leave you feeling stuck or unsure. It's a common struggle and you don't have to navigate it alone. That's why I'm offering a free strategy call. Together we'll identify the specific hurdles you're facing and develop a personalized marketing plan to drive real results. This is your opportunity to turn those challenges into achievements and set yourself up for a powerful year end. Picture this. December arrives and you look back on a year where you achieved more than you thought possible. How would that make you feel? This call is your chance to make that vision a reality. Don't let another day pass by without taking action. Nothing changes until you change it. Are you ready to see what's possible? Click the link in the show notes to book your free discovery call with me now. Let's work together to make these last few months your most impactful yet. Let's seize this opportunity and finish the year strong. I'm here to help you make it happen. And in that planning, do you take, like, just assume my business, do you take my vision and maybe make it more realistic or see if it's realistic and then build around that? How would I as a founder fit into that?
Yeah, well, in EOS, one of the first tools that we use when we build your vision is something we call the 8 questions, and it's really listed on something we call our vision traction organizer, and it's a 2-page business plan. And those 8 questions are, what are your core values? What is your core focus? What is your core or 10-year target? What is your marketing strategy? What is your 3-year picture? What is your 1-year plan? What are your rocks and what are your issues? And while you can build that yourself, it's much more powerful if you and your leadership team build this vision together. Now, of course, I know it's your vision, Marilyn. I know that you're the one driving the bus here. But to the extent that we can get your leadership team to share in that vision and feel like they were a part of creating it, the chances of you being successful are just so much greater.
Yeah, very good point. So you mentioned rocks. Rock's an issue. So we all know what an issue is. Tell us what a rock is.
So a rock, the concept of rocks ultimately came from Stephen Covey. It was kind of popularized by Vern Harnish in the business world. But Stephen Covey did a sort of a presentation and where he had a glass cylinder on a table. That glass cylinder represented your available time. Next to that glass cylinder was a pile of rocks, which represent the most important things in your life. There was a pile of kind of pebbles that represents your day-to-day responsibilities. And there was a pile of sand, which represents kind of everything else, your distractions and everything else. And so if you put those things in the jar in the glass cylinder in the wrong order, like most of us do, we say, here's all the distractions, and then here's all the stuff that I have to do, and then here's all the important stuff. The rocks don't actually fit. And so if you put those things in the jar in the right order, if you put the rocks in first, the most important things first, and then you put in the pebbles will filter in around the rocks, and then you can pour the sand in, the sand will filter in around the pebbles, and heck, you could even pour a glass of water in on top, and it'll all fit. And so the point of that is rocks are your biggest business priorities for the next 90 days. And so, you got to if they are your priorities, you need to focus on those most important things. We just help you isolate them, figure out what they are, really narrow that down to 3 to 7 most important things every quarter, and those become your rocks or your priorities.
So EOS would help us with our quarterly goals and actually staying more on track for the 6, 12, 9, and 12 months of that. So if we defined our rocks, we define how quickly we want to accomplish those, and that would help us develop our goals around that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, in EOS, we kind of work in a 90-day world because we it's sort of been scientifically proven that most of us can only focus for about 90 days and then the wheels fall off. And so we come together every 90 days. And when we get together, we kind of look back at the last quarter and we see how do we do hitting our numbers? How do we do hitting our goals? How do we do completing our rocks? Then we all get back on the same page again to just kind of make sure that we all still have that same vision, because sometimes we don't. We got to get on the same page again. And then we build out a new plan again for the next 90 days. And it's just a repeating cycle that we get together basically every 90 days and refresh and rejuvenate and re-energize the company towards our common goal.
Okay. All right. That sounds interesting, because we always try to do a quarterly audit of what happened and where we're going. So So looking at, like, we talked the org chart, we talked about what EOS is and who it's perfect for. Obviously there's the book, right? So you can get the book, you can read the book, but how would we implement it, contact you? What do you help us do so that we can do it more efficiently?
Sure. And so EOS is a business framework, and you can get the book Traction. I've got one sitting back here. It's written by Gino Wickman. Just to be clear, all of this was created by Gino Wickman. Gino was an entrepreneur his whole life, and he over his time, he sort of developed this system because he saw the difference in great businesses and not so great businesses. And so he built this framework to help you run a better business and, quite frankly, live a better life. And so you can self-implement this. There are tools. If you go to eosworldwide.com, you can download all of the forms and the sheets and the guides to implement EOS. I would say that is simple, but not easy. And so a lot of self-implementers struggle with this. And there are, a handful of certified or professional or expert EOS implementers in the world who will help you come in, implement this system within your business, kind of let you as the leader kind of step in. If you try to self-implement now, you've got to be trying to run the meeting. It's almost like it's your idea and it's being dictated down from the top, and the team doesn't always buy in. Often find that outside third party voice that's, done hundreds of sessions with other clients in similar niches and areas can really guide you and quite frankly, let you be a part of the process rather than you have to run it. Because when you have to be the implementer, now we've just taken the strongest mind and voice and power of the company out of the meeting. And now you're trying to run the meeting versus being a part of it. And so there's a lot of power in having a professional or certified implementer come in and help you.
Well, it sounds like it would be, I'm running my business and now I have to implement and figure out how to do this correctly so that we get to the rocks taken care of. It just seems like it would be a no-brainer to have someone come in and manage that. I mean, we want to make a dramatic improvement in our business. And at the same time, if I'm growing my business, I need to be doing that.
You can certainly do it on your own, but if you want to go faster and further, hire an implementer.
Okay, excellent. So what else should we know about getting started with EOS or what? I mean, I know you can talk about this all day long. There's so much involved in it. And I know we've just hit the high points. What should we look at if we want to think about moving into that?
Sure. Let me give you this sort of the 5 foundational tools of EOS. And let's just talk about those for a minute, because there's a lot of tools in EOS. There are 20, 25, 30 tools total. There's probably 20, 25 in the toolbox, but we believe in simplification in EOS. We sort of think about the 80-20. And so when we create your systems and processes and your core processes, we try and get you to do the 80-20, because what we don't want you to do is have a 700-page SOP manual that nobody looks at. And so I'm going to give you the 80-20 of EOS, the overall EOS 80-20. And the 80-20 of EOS is 5 foundational tools. Number 1, it's the vision traction organizer. It's getting together with the team, answering those 8 questions, getting 100% on the same page with all the words on that document about your core values, your core focus, your core target, your marketing strategy, 3-year picture, 1-year plan, rocks and issues. Secondly, that accountability chart. And you called it an org chart. And I don't want to correct you, but in EOS, we call it an accountability chart, because what makes an accountability chart is only one person can be accountable for each function of the business. And on the accountability chart, we list the major functions, but we also list the roles and responsibilities for each one of those functions. So the accountability part just gives you and your team a better understanding of what their major function is and why they're here and what they're supposed to be doing. And it sets the right expectations.
Clarity. Okay.
Clarity, for sure. Once we build out your accountability chart, we want to make sure that you have a great set of rocks. And rocks, again, are the biggest business priorities for the quarter. So we help you do a rock setting exercise. And then the next piece of the 5 foundational tools is really a scorecard. And so having a great leadership team scorecard that will give you a pulse on your business is really important. We sort of imagine that if you were on a deserted island and, you were there and you were having a frosty beverage and your cabana boy or cabana girl brought you over a scorecard, a piece of paper, and it had maybe 5 to 15 numbers on it. that would give you an absolute pulse on your business, that's what we're trying to do. We want you to be able to look at this scorecard really quickly and know, hey, are we having a good day in sales or bad day in sales? Are we having a good day in finance or bad day in finance? Are my customers happy? Are my employees happy? Are we doing well in the delivery department today? And, those sort of things. So build a great scorecard. And then the last of the 5 foundational tools is really a meeting pulse, which means understanding how you guys can have great meetings. In EOS, we believe that you should have a 2-day annual planning session. You should have the 3 additional quarterlies. And then in between those quarterlies, you have a regular meeting pulse, sort of the EKG or the lifeblood of your business, where we're getting together weekly and having what we call a level 10 meeting.
Okay.
So that's the 80-20 of EOS. If you can do that really, really well, you've got EOS kind of handled. Now there's a bunch of other tools. There's a bunch of other tools that would help you, but that's the core foundational tools of EOS.
So do you in the scorecard, is this like are there KPIs for each accountability position? Are we talking about by department or both?
Well, everybody's scorecard is different. And so my scorecard would be different than yours. And we determine that together, what gives you the best pulse on your business. Now, my recommendation is to have a little heads up from each department to understand, hey, sales having a good week or a bad week? Is marketing having a good week or a bad week? And what KPIs you measure should tell you that. Now, and so everybody's a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, we need to have a pulse of our business. What's important for you to know if you're okay this week? It's a little bit like jumping in your car and putting your key in the ignition and the dashboard lights up. And that dashboard gives you just a handful of things that let you know, hey, is this car safe to drive today? do we got enough gas to get where we're going? Do I need oil? Are my tires inflated properly? Or maybe my check engine light's on and it's giving me a warning that something's wrong. And that's kind of the purpose of that scorecard. We got to be able to look at it and go, hey, we're okay, or oh no, we got to go fix something. And so what I want you to know, though, is that dashboard in your car doesn't tell you, how many times a spark plug's firing. It doesn't tell you the ignition timing. It doesn't tell you the compression of a cylinder. It doesn't tell you anything. That's too complicated. It's too complex. So we simplify it and we try and get you a handful of numbers that give you an absolute pulse on your business.
I love that. Okay. That makes it sound a lot more approachable than what I had in my head.
Yeah.
So
Simplify is the number 1 leadership ability we're going to teach you in EOS.
Excellent. That's fantastic. I'm loving this conversation. We're talking about law firms, from small to medium and large law firms, that most of the listeners and the service providers. What would you want the biggest takeaway for our listeners to have today from this conversation? Other than call you to get it fixed.
Well, I think, I would say that law firms are probably made up of a lot of lawyers who out practicing law. But who's focusing on building the business? Who's focusing on building the practice? We need to build a leadership team that can build this practice, not just, us a bunch of individuals running their own thing and managing their clients and running their business. But we need somebody to who's building the practice. And so that's kind of what EOS how that would fit into a law firm, making sure that we have our sales and our marketing and our, what's our delivery like? What's our intake like? What's our onboarding like? How are we handling the finance? What's that look like? What do we need on our team? How are we going to grow? What's this practice look like, 6 and 12 months from now? What's it look like a year from now? What's it look like 3 years from now? What's it look like 10 years from now? And so I would imagine, and I know it's not every lawyer, but I imagine a lot of lawyers are busy working in their business. We need to work on the business.
Yeah, that's been a big distinction that I've noticed this year is taking the time to work on the business as opposed to, and getting the right people in the right seats to take things off of my plate. Like with law firms, not as many as they should have general managers or office managers that take those things off of the attorney's plate so they can actually do what they need to do. And I don't know, EOS has something like the 5 questions to clarity, where as a CEO or whatever, each week you ask yourself, what things are you doing that you shouldn't be doing? Or what are you doing that you don't enjoy doing? So that's probably part of your checklist, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of exercises that really get into team health and just optimization. But Imagine your office manager, business manager, having a framework that they didn't have to invent how to build a practice. What if they had a framework on how to have their meetings and how to hire and how to fire and how to have quarterly conversations with the team and how to set goals and how to predict our future? And that's what EOS does, is help you do those things.
Wow. Okay. That sounds excellent. If I know that people are going to want to dive deeper into this and reach out to you and talk to you further about it, because it just sounds like you can make it so much easier to get us where we want to be in our business with our leadership team. Where would we go to connect with you and contact you?
Sure. I'm super easy to find. I think I have a really uncommon name. I think I'm probably the only Lyn Askin on the planet. So if you were to type Lyn Askin into any search box, you'd probably find my LinkedIn or my Facebook or my Twitter. You can certainly connect with me at lynaskin.com, or you can find me on EOS Worldwide's website if you were to do a search for an implementer. But what I want to tell you is EOS starts with something we call a 90-minute meeting. And this is a free meeting that I'll come and do with you and your leadership team. I'm going to learn about you. You're going to learn about me. I'm going to open up the fire hose. I'm going to show you all of the EOS tools. And then I'm going to show you exactly the process, what it looks like to work with me as an implementer. And I'm going to show you all of the steps that I take every single one of my clients through to get great results. And so if you're interested in EOS and you're curious, schedule a 90-minute meeting with me. There's no charge for it. Happy to jump in with you and your team and explain EOS and lay everything out for you. No pressure, no sales pitch, anything like that. I'll just simply lay out the system. And at the end, you decide, hey, is now the right time for EOS? Is EOS the right fit for me? Is Lyn the right fit for me? And if I'm not the right fit, I have 800 other EOS implementer friends I would love to connect you with. We're all equally great. We all work really hard to deliver this system purely. And I would love to connect you with somebody who's a better fit for you if I'm not a great fit. So, schedule a quick discovery call with me, schedule a 90-minute meeting, and let's take a look and see if EOS is right for your practice.
Wow, that is incredible. A 90-minute free meeting to see where I am and see how you can help. That's great. Yeah. You guys, I'm going to put the link in the show notes to your website and your LinkedIn and all of that. Guys, reach out to him. This is a great program. I think you'll find a lot of benefit in it. And a 90-minute meeting to dive into it to see if that's what you want to do is a great offer. Thank you, Lyn. I really appreciate you being here. It's been great to learn this about EOS and about what you do.
Marilyn, it's my pleasure. It's great talking to you. It's great talking to your audience. Again, love EOS. It changed my life, saved my life. I guess I've drank all of the orange Kool-Aid, but if you're looking for help in your business and you want to grow and scale, give me a call.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, everybody pay attention.
Thanks for joining me today for this episode. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to do two things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to discover this podcast. Second, you can connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm currently learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take the next step with a digital strategist to help you grow your law firm, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to lawmarketingzone.com to book a call with me. Stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, thanks for listening to Leadership in Law Podcast, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Leadership in Law Podcast. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of law firm owners out there facing similar challenges and striving for the same success. Head over to our website at lawmarketingzone.com. From there, connect with other listeners, access valuable resources, and stay up to date on the latest episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, keep leading with vision and keep growing your firm.